Hello, everybody. Welcome to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. We have a great show in store for you today. As you know, we're celebrating our 150th anniversary here in Reno, and we have a person who has a real good knowledge of the history of Reno and the surrounding area, so stay tuned. We'll have the whole story for you right after this.
Hi, I'm Hugh Roy Marshall from the Marshall Mint, Virginia City and Reno, Nevada. Come to introduce you to the Let 'em Run Wild Horse Mustang series, which depicts the wild Mustangs herd running free, mare in its foal, the wild Mustangs fighting for love. These ingots are a limited edition double-struck product on 1 troy ounce 3-pine silver and are only available at the Marshall Mint, Virginia City or Reno, Nevada. Get your piece of history today.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988, so ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, we're the biker's bike shop.
Welcome, everybody, to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show, and along with me today is our sidekick, our good buddy, Hugh Roy Marshall, and his mascot, our mascot, Lady, alongside. Welcome to the show again, Hugh Roy.
You betcha, John.
Good to be back together again.
Yeah.
And boy, do we have a special guest today.
I know it. We sure do. Yeah, I'm sure happy to see her, too.
Yeah, Patty
yeah,
Cafferata.
You know, we all make a mark on this earth, and some of us deeper, some of us not so deep, but the ones that have developed our community in this area are real special, beginning with the Comstock load, which paid Abraham Lincoln and the people that we owed, France, Germany, and England, $7 or $8 million, which gave us the ability to form the United States of America.
Yes, sir.
And we developed the dollar here as a unit of a measure at Carson City from the silver from the Comstock. And basically, the state is extremely important for our military purposes, and it has a history of pioneers and entrepreneurs, and many of which we have had on the show.
Yes, many.
Trying to have the pioneers in the area before they pass away.
Yes, sir.
That's about what it amounts to.
Yeah, well,
along with us, too.
Yeah, well, we have pioneers past, present, and future, actually, here in Nevada.
That's right. Oh,
we have people making history as we speak,
every
for sure.
day.
And Patty Cafferata is one of these folks.
She's very knowledgeable.
She's been
very
around.
knowledgeable.
And Patty, welcome to the show.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And
welcome,
Patty, as of the moment, is the Special Assistant Attorney General for Law Enforcement Counties and Municipalities. How about that?
How about that?
It took 3
Quite a
lines on
title.
your business card to get that all out there. Patty, we're so happy to have you back on the show.
Thank
You've
you.
been with us almost from the beginning. I remember when we did radio,
Yes.
we had you on, and then we did a TV show a long time ago, it seems, and now we have you back on the show. So
Pleased to be
glad to have you here, especially when we're celebrating our 150th anniversary of Reno, which will take place next year, actually, but the events surrounding it have already started. And we wanted to get you back on the show because you have such a knowledge and a passion for history here in northern Nevada, whether it's Reno or the different events that have happened here, and even going far down to Goldfield. You've done a lot of research down there. So we look forward to talking with you today. But as usual, we always like to start our show with a little bio about you, you know, where it all started for you and how you got to Nevada and your family and so on and so forth. So when do you start us off here? Where are you from?
I actually was born in Albany, New York.
Albany, all right.
And my mother, Barbara Vukanovich,
Yes.
came to Reno back in the 40s for a divorce because in those days you couldn't get a divorce in like New York. It took you 5 years.
5 years.
And so that's why Nevada became such a popular place for divorces
Yeah.
to occur, and so she came out to Reno for her divorce.
Where did she stay when she was out here? Did she ever
She
tell you
stayed,
that?
oh yes, she stayed in one of the rooming houses because that
Okay.
was one of the places that they
Places for the
came.
divorcees,
Because you came
yeah.
for 6 weeks,
Right.
And she actually met my stepfather, Ken Dillon.
Ken Dillon.
He was in Reno for divorce too. And they
How
were
about
in the
that?
same rooming
That's great.
house,
Isn't
and they
that
met
something?
over the dinner table and fell in love. And she had no intentions of coming back here, and of course did.
Yeah.
And of course became our congressman back in the 1980s.
Yeah.
So my brother Mike and I were from the first marriage, and then when she and Ken Dillon got married, they had 3 more children.
Yeah.
My brothers Ken, Tom, and my sister
Yeah.
Susan.
They have D&D roofing, right? in town?
My brother Ken has D&D roofing.
Yes.
So, but I grew up in a house right up here on the corner of Country Club and
How about
Lewis.
that?
Right around the corner.
Right here. yeah.
Absolutely.
How about
so
that?
spent a lot of time at Virginia Lake. My brother Mike and I looking for crawdads, and
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of things.
It wasn't
So-
developed like it is now,
no,
right?
absolutely not.
Yeah.
The whole other side was the trailer park, the orchard.
Oh, is there a
Orchard
trailer
Trade-
park over there?
Where
No.
all those
Condos are?
Condos are,
Or
yeah.
apartments,
that was
whatever they are?
that was a trailer park.
Isn't that amazing?
So, anyway, so I went to St. Thomas Aquinas.
Okay. Where was that
school,
located?
Right down by St. Thomas Aquinas Cathedral, which is
Okay.
on the corner of 2nd and Arlington,
All right.
right down by the river.
Still there.
Still there. And then when I went to Minogue,
Yeah.
and then went away to college.
Okay. And what college did you go to?
I went to Mills College in Oakland, which was a
Oh.
girls' school.
Yeah.
And my husband, my late husband, Treat Cafferata, was a Reno native, and
Mm-hmm. Okay.
he went to Stanford, so
Oh.
we were there at the same time, and then got
Well,
married.
neat.
So, yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And so you became an attorney, right?
I did much
Yeah.
later in life.
Oh.
I ran for state treasurer in 1978.
Yeah.
Didn't win. Didn't know that no woman had ever been elected to a constitutional office. I just thought I could do it.
Yeah.
And then in 80, I was elected to the legislature
Oh.
representing this area. And then in 82, I ran for state treasurer again, the same year my mother ran for Congress. And we were both elected.
Oh, okay.
She was the first woman elected to federal office in Nevada, and I was the first woman
Wow.
elected
That's
to
right, that's
constitutional.
right.
That must have been
Mom was
exciting, huh?
It was an exciting night. It was an
Women
exciting
in
night.
government.
Was your mom always very active politically? Did she always have that kind of enthusiasm for the
She really
kind of work?
did, yeah.
She did. She was a volunteer on a lot of the campaigns for the people running for Congress or for the Senate or for governor. She worked for Paul Laxalt on his
Yeah,
campaigns.
she was a secretary or something?
Well,
for-
she ran his Northern Nevada campaigns,
Okay.
and then when he got elected to the Senate, she ran his Northern Nevada office. So,
Oh, I see.
So
And how long did she serve as a congressperson?
14 years.
14
the second
years.
longest of anybody in the state.
Wow.
And still holds that record.
She was really active until she passed away.
Yeah.
Almost within a week or two, probably. I don't know. She was
out
on top of it. No doubt about it.
She was
so that
all
no
that.
doubt gave you the passion to get involved in government in different ways.
Absolutely. Well, I grew up in a very politically active family. My
Yeah.
stepfather, Ken Dillon, was the chairman of the Nevada Republican Party.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I was always ringing doorbells or stuffing envelopes or, assembling packets to go
Yeah.
door to door. So
Yeah.
it was just part of my
Yeah.
life.
So you just continued that interest through today, where you're helping out with the Attorney General there.
Adam Laxalt, Paul Laxalt's grandson, is
Yeah.
the Attorney General, and I am working for him. And so
Yeah.
the Laxalt connection and my family's connection goes back a
Isn't that
long
something?
way.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
that's
exciting.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, besides all of the political activities, you have developed a wonderful passion for Nevada history. And your passion for history must have started way before you started writing books, right?
Yes, absolutely. I was very interested in history when I was in grade school and high school. Didn't do much with it in college, but when I left being state treasurer, I wanted to write a book about the Nevada State Treasures because I thought nobody else is going to write it, so I know how this works, and so I was going to do that, and I started doing the research, and I've collected a lot of research. And then I was talking to Christine down at Sundance Books, and she said, well, I'd never be able to sell that book. And it's like, well, why would I write it if I can't sell it? So I have 20 binders on all the state treasures, and I've written articles about some of the more interesting ones.
Yeah, some of them were infamous, weren't they?
Oh, some of them, the embezzlers were, we had a couple of those.
Yeah.
The first treasurer, Eben Rhodes, embezzled all the money in the permanent school fund and in most of the general fund. So it took us to the 1920s to pay off our territorial bonds because there was no money.
No money.
No money because he took it all. And then the permanent school fund, when I was state treasurer, we had like $30 million in our permanent school fund. Well, states like Idaho had $300 million.
Really?
So when you think about compound interest,
I
mean, he really impacted
set
the
you
state
back.
of
High graded,
us back,
high graded
actually.
the government.
Yeah.
High grade the government, and then the taxpayer gets high graded too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, he died from an overdose of cocaine back in 1866 or 7. So it's like
He's
some
a bad
things are
man to
never...
start with.
Yeah. You wonder how people like that get elected, right? Because he must have had a checkered past to start with.
Well, yes, and you really don't know. He was the treasurer in Esmeralda County when he became state treasurer.
Yeah.
So you wonder about what he did to Esmeralda County because that was a big place.
But wasn't Nevada kind of like that in the old days? It was kind of a free for all when it came to politicians and what they did with money and so on and so forth.
In his embezzlement, the governor was implicated. The controller, because it takes more than one. You got to kind of work together.
Takes two to dance, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And the only one who really it came out on was on the controller. I mean, on the treasurer, and the others kind of skated away from it.
Through it. Yeah.
Now, when you were treasurer, you had control of all the funds, and you had to make good with those funds, right? Investing it and finding ways to build that fund so that you could use it for various projects.
Right. One of the functions of the treasurer is you collect all the money and you bank it and you invest it, and you make money for the state on the idle cash is what it's called. Money you're not spending today. And I made in the 4 years about $100 million. It's about 10%.
Fantastic.
But now the treasurers make far more money because there's more money involved.
Now, did you have training in the financial side, or did you have these advisors around you that helped you make those kind of decisions?
Self-taught bookkeeper.
Self-taught, right? Way to go!
And I invested our own funds. I invested our own funds.
So you got a pretty high IQ along with your mom and dad.
I'm going to see. I'll give you my checkbook, and if you can balance that, then you're really good. But that would be a very interesting piece of work to be involved with that. And how many years did you do that?
I did it for 4 years.
4 years.
And the investments that you can invest in are set by law. So I mean, it's very safe. It's not you're not in the stock market, or you're not going to lose money because you got to meet the payroll.
You got to make payroll. Listen, we got to take a break.
Okay.
And then I want to come back and start looking at some of these books that you have written and some of the stories that maybe we haven't heard. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more Old Tales of Nevada, past and present, right after we hear from a couple of our great sponsors. Buy Nevada First Gift Shop and Visitor Center at the Reno Town Mall is the place to buy local Nevada-owned products. There is over 4,000 square feet of unique items to choose from. Art, jewelry, books, music, inventions, clothing, candy, pottery, toys, even Nevada-made wine and more. Why, you can even purchase a gift basket full of Nevada-owned products. Buy Nevada First Gift Shop, located at the Reno Town Mall, 4001 Virginia Street in Reno. Buy local first.
Hi, I'm Paula.
And I'm Dan. We're the producers of the Tanner's Marketplace Antiques and Craft Shows at the Livestock Event Center on Wells Avenue.
I'd also like to tell you about our everyday location. We're at Somewhere in Time on South Virginia Street. We're Antique Antiques, booth number 46.
You'll find paintings by Nevada artists, collectible glass, vintage jewelry, Native American jewelry and baskets, antiques and unusual to unique items.
Find it all at Antique Antiques inside Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street.
Come see us!
Boutique Elegante presents a beautiful collection of summer fashions for every occasion. A day at the lake, a tropical holiday, patio parties, or special dinners. You'll find the perfect ensemble, add jewelry and accessories, and you're set to go. All at Boutique Elegante.
Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. A store full of the unexpected, with a large selection of beer and sports memorabilia, vintage toys, casino and brothel memorabilia, vent and glassware, Disney collectibles, historic comic books, jewelry, a great selection of vintage neon, new and enlarged collections throughout the store. Have fun with the whole family. Check out all the inventory in the store. Find the unexpected that will be treasured for all time at Somewhere in Time on South Virginia in Reno.
Boutique Elegante presents a beautiful collection of summer fashions for every occasion. A day at the lake, a tropical holiday, patio parties, or special dinners. You'll find the perfect ensemble, add jewelry and accessories, and you're set to go. All at Boutique Elegante.
Welcome back to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. We're talking with Patty Cafferata, and she is the Special Assistant, I got to read this every time, Special Assistant Attorney General for the Law Enforcement Counties and Municipalities. Basically, you're like a liaison.
Yes, I work with all the law enforcement agencies, highway patrol, sheriffs, chiefs of police, any peace officer groups, Department of Wildlife, any of those groups. And I put
She's for law and order.
Yeah,
like
for
the rest
law and
of
order.
our family always was.
Don't mess with Barbara or Patty.
Order.
Don't mess with Patty. This, in case you're new to the area, this is Patty.
That's
Patty's
her
mom.
mom.
Patty's mom,
Patty's
Barbara,
mom, Barbara
and a
Cambridge.
beautiful woman, and everybody in Nevada knew her face immediately, and nationwide. I remember not being here in Nevada. Maybe I was up in Montana in those days, but I remember seeing her on TV and being interviewed.
Absolutely.
She was pretty tight with some of the leadership there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. Who was the speaker in those days? That was
Newt Gingrich when they were
Newt
in charge.
Gingrich, right?
Right. When they
Yes.
when the Republicans were in charge.
Yeah. Right. Well, good. And you wrote this book, and it's still available.
It is.
Yeah, very nice.
The University of Nevada Press. It's published by them.
Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about your interest in history, and we were sitting on history. This was the old Carano Ranch, you said.
Yes. Well,
Yeah?
this area I think down by the Virginia, where the lake is.
Yeah, and you were saying they used to race cars around that lake back
There
in the
was a
old
car
days.
race,
and,
right.
and the old Mark Twain Motel was sitting there on Virginia Street.
Correct.
And that had a claim to fame in that what?
It had one of the few outdoor swimming pools in Reno that
Isn't
was
that
open
something?
to the public. Right.
Isn't that something? That's wonderful. So, anyway, your interest must have been there from when you were a youngin' in
Yes.
school. And what kind of history was it? American history that got your attention the most, or what?
American history, world history. It was just history,
Just
in
history in
general.
general, yeah.
I didn't have a specific interest, but then as I got into the state treasurer and into elected office, then I was interested in that.
In Nevada history, yeah. I remember when I was in school, I used to love to hear the stories about Custer's last stand and, the Civil War and the things that happened like that. I'd love to hear those kind of stories. And if you can go visit the site,
Absolutely.
it's wonderful. And so we have that same kind of thing here in Nevada. We have some events. We have places and people that have created some wonderful stories. And if we know about it, you can go to the site, like the Lake Mansion or out to Washoe City there, and you're standing in places where great history happened. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So no doubt you picked up on that, right?
Yes, and growing up in Reno, I've done a lot of research on Reno history, and part of it was because the newspaper, the Reno Gazette-Journal, asked me to write a history column once a month for the paper, but they limited it to, they had somebody else who did Nevada history, so they said, okay, you can just do Reno history, and my thing is, I started with the Goldfield Hotel when I was the district attorney down there because the county owned the hotel for back taxes.
Was that Esmeralda County?
Esmeralda County, and Goldfield is there, and the hotel is right there. Yes,
this is it.
And we owned it for back taxes. So I did a lot of research on the hotel because we were trying to sell it.
Yeah.
And get it back on the tax rolls. And so I was, the commissioner said, oh, yes, I could write the book and all this stuff. Then I never had time because I was busy prosecuting people or reading contracts or doing something else.
A lot of characters down there in Goldfield, I would imagine,
yes,
huh?
there are. And so when I retired from that, I had this banker's box of material on it, and so I wrote the book and self-published it.
What is it about the Goldfield Hotel that was that you could tell us that was so intriguing to you that maybe other people don't know about?
I think if you've ever gone down 95 or up 95, it's all this desert.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here's this huge
building.
And you go, what?
And it's like, and it's just out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's, I won't say sucked a lot of people in, but a lot of people have bought it because, this is a great thing.
Yeah.
And of course, there's so few cars going up and down that highway that you can't make it as to what it's going to cost. It was built in the 1910s. About that time, that's when Goldfield was really booming, and then the mining declined by 2000 or 1920.
Yeah,
there
was a big flash flood down there.
There was a flash flood that wiped out the town. There were fires.
They had a bad fire too.
Fire too.
Flood came afterwards, which finished them off.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, and so you're not going to reinvest because there wasn't, there weren't the jobs, there weren't, the gold and the mining. So it's just sat there. And
she does an excellent job, and that's a very good book for people to read.
Yeah. And again, these are available almost anywhere, Amazon and the bookstores.
Bookstores.
Yeah.
I'm not here to sell my books.
I know.
I'm not here to sell my books.
The Goldfield, it was a huge structure.
It is.
How many rooms
still
were in
there?
that thing?
It's like 100 and something. Yeah,
100 some rooms. Did anybody really important stay there in the old days?
A lot of important
you
people
recall?
stay there, probably.
Well, there are a lot of urban myths.
Yeah.
Like, President Grant was there. Well,
no. Didn't have to get down that far, huh?
No.
Yeah.
But Lester O'Shea from San Francisco bought the hotel in the 1980s, and he put in the structural steel, and the roof has been since reinforced or fixed. So
it's actually in pretty good shape.
It's in good shape.
Got good bones, like they say, right?
Good bones.
But it's almost a city block long and wide. It takes up a lot of space.
Right. It's a big place.
Yeah, but there's no tours that go through it or anything like that.
Not anything recently.
Just not enough people.
Who owns it now? The county still owns it?
No, a guy from Carson City owns it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you have some plans for it, or what?
He has, but I haven't seen him do anything with them.
So anyway, for start to finish, how long did it take you to write this book?
About a year.
About a year. Yeah. That's pretty good.
Because, you can't... So I always pick a building to write my history around. You have to have a theme, right? So I always would pick
easier
a
to research.
building. Right. And then, what's the building, who was there, who owned it, what happened, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So it did have its heyday.
It certainly did.
And who was the original builder of it? Do you recall?
No, I don't.
You don't know. But anyway, it did have years of success.
Right. George Wingfield was big in Goldfield.
And
he was one of the
from
the famous Wingfield.
Famous Wingfield, yes. Okay,
he was the developer of the Bullfrog Railroad that ran through there. I have the property where the Bullfrog Railroad ran.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you're down there doing some work down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have some workings down there.
Yeah, I plan on buying most of the area, actually. That's why I was happy to see Patty.
Yeah. So did this have any relationship to the Mizpah Hotel that was in Tonopah?
No, that was later.
That was later. Okay, very
earlier.
good. Yeah.
Goldfield and Tonopah came into being at about the same time, but the owners were not the same.
Okay, was there a lot of competition between Goldfield and Tonopah?
Well, yeah, it was like
Jim Butler discovered the ore in Tonopah, and Myers and his partner found the gold in the sandstorm. At what, 50, 60 feet deep was the first major discovery in Goldfield.
In Goldfield, yeah. Wow. Great story. Great story. So check it out. It's not just about the hotel, but
it's the history of the area.
Of the Goldfield town, yeah. And if you drive through there, stop and look
peek
around.
In the windows.
Peek in the windows. Yeah. There's some other structures there, too, that are very historic that are still there.
The courthouse is
still
very historic.
Now, is that still used or what?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah.
It is a very nice courthouse. It looks like a castle.
Check it out. Check it out. Now, what's your next favorite book that you did?
My next favorite book? Well, I love my mother's book, and of course, I love all my books.
All your books, yeah.
But my Christmas in Nevada book was my most recent one, and that's about. It's got a story from all 17 counties, and it's from 1858 to 2010, and then so. It's chronological, so you can go along, and you can just open the book anywhere and read the story.
Yeah.
You don't have to read the story before, the story after.
So each has its own capsulized story. Yeah, and it goes into the different cultures, right? Whether it's Basque or Italian. Were there Irish in Nevada back in those days?
There were a lot of Irish, but there
we
aren't
need
any
more
Irish.
We need more Irish.
No Irish. And then Native American and African American. So I picked the different prominent cultures of Nevada.
So this is all about how they celebrated their holidays, whatever, in whatever form.
And most people became Americans, and so they gave away their
Victorian Christmas. Was a very beautiful one during that heyday in Virginia City.
In Virginia City,
and around the early parts of this.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the Christmas tree. They talk about Christmas trees from Germany, but really it was the Victorian from England.
Fallon put one up in town there for quite a while too.
They still do.
They still do.
Yeah. Didn't they decorate the cemetery up there in the Comstock? That was kind of the center of town for a lot of people.
So, and a lot of the communities do have community trees, and more of them have them than beginning.
That's beautiful. Christmas is a beautiful time.
Yeah, but they used to. The Italians had their way of doing it. The Basque had their way, and it wasn't. I would imagine like it is today. It was probably totally different in scope. Or not near as big as what it is today, right?
Well, and some of the small mining camps, like Jarbidge, everybody in the community got together and made sure that every kid in town got a stocking with, something like an orange or a knit cap or mittens or something.
Yeah, kept it simple.
Right. Yeah. And, something that they could make, and it wouldn't cost a lot of money. But that was a tradition in a lot of the small towns. That they got together and made sure that every kid had a gift.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? These small towns, how close they were in those days.
Yes,
yeah,
still.
Yeah. Well, when we come back off our next break, I know you wrote a book about the Mapes Hotel. We've heard a lot about the Mapes Hotel, some legends, some truth. I want to explore your feelings about the Mapes Hotel. Okay. And you had a lot to do with the fight to protect it, which didn't work out, but you put forth a good fight.
Too, a little
bit.
I
do.
The Mapes family was an interesting group.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We'll be back with that whole story right after we hear from a couple of our other sponsors on Old Tales of Nevada, past and present.
Boutique Elegante presents a beautiful collection of summer fashions for every occasion. A day at the lake, a tropical holiday, patio parties, or special dinners. You'll find the perfect ensemble, add jewelry and accessories, and you're set to go. All at Boutique Elegante.
Hi, I'm Chris from Past Time at Somewhere in Time. Are you looking for that one-of-a-kind gift that you can't find in the big department store? I have something for all occasions. Got stuff? Need to know whether or not it has value or how to sell it? We can help with that too. Come and see me Tuesday or Wednesday at Pastime in Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street in Reno. Just ask for Chris.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle with a biker's bike shop.
Hi, I'm Paula.
And I'm Dan. We're the producers of the Tanner's Marketplace Antiques and Craft Shows at the Livestock Event Center on Wells Avenue.
I'd also like to tell you about our everyday location. We're at Somewhere in Time on South Virginia Street. We're Antique Antiques, booth number 46.
You'll find paintings by Nevada artists, collectible glass, vintage jewelry, Native American jewelry and baskets, antiques and unusual to unique items.
Find it all at Antique Antiques inside Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street.
Come see us.
Hi, I'm Hugh Roy Marshall from the Marshall Men, Virginia City and Reno, Nevada. Come to introduce you to the Let 'em Run Wild Horse Mustang series. Wish to picks the Wild Mustangs herd running free, mare and its foal, the Wild Mustangs fighting for love. These ingots are a limited edition double struck product on 1 troy ounce 3 pine silver and are only available at the Marshall Mint, Virginia City or Reno, Nevada. Get your piece of history today.
Boutique Elegante presents a beautiful collection of summer fashions for every occasion. A day at the lake, a tropical holiday, patio parties, or special dinners. You'll find the perfect ensemble, add jewelry and accessories, and you're set to go. All at Boutique Elegante.
Welcome back to Old Tales Nevada, past and present. Let's just take a moment here to reintroduce everybody. I'm John O'Brien, the host, and Roy Marshall's with me as well. Our mascot, Lady. What happened to Lady?
She's over there.
Oh, she's over there. It's too much work for her, you know. Our special guest, Patty Cafferata, one of the great families here in Reno, Nevada, Northern Nevada, Special Assistant to the Attorney General for Law Enforcement, Counties, and Municipalities. But much more than that to us. A good friend of our show, has a passion for history, and we love these kind of people. It brings us pride, really, Patty, to have people like you. And we have a great number of people in Northern Nevada that spend a lot of time preserving history and letting us all know about it so we can have pride in living in this place.
Absolutely.
And Nevada is such a unique place.
It is that.
Yeah, we don't... you don't get that same feel when you're in other states. This feeling of being special, being entrepreneurial, being
it's a
pioneers.
Pioneer state.
Pioneer state.
Yes.
Past, present, future, like we mentioned
Texas
earlier.
was that way probably 50 years ago, 60 years ago. It was like Nevada, kind of.
Yeah.
That's why I moved out here. It was similar.
Yeah, it's very similar, isn't it? Yeah. You got that Western flair to it.
Everybody
But
had pride in their work and stuff and trying to take care of each other.
Yeah.
They've been in trouble and bad in Houston.
Yeah. So, fortunately, I mean, we have our floods, but not like Houston, unfortunately, which is fortunate for us. But your book about the Mapes Hotel was also a big project for you. How long did you spend working on that?
Again, I spent a year.
A year? Is that about your
That's
tenure?
about it. Usually, my books are about 100 pages long.
100 pages. Quick read.
Yes, and that's the whole point. You know, in this instant society with microwaves and now apps on your phone, I mean, you can't keep people
spend all that much time.
No, you don't want a 1,000-page book. Right?
You know what's funny, though? In this age of electronics where you can get instant information, some people just never get to the point. You know what I mean?
That's true.
They don't. They just go around the corner. They say things in a half hour that you could say in 5 minutes.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes. And that's,
I don't know if it's because they're trying to show their education or what they're trying to do.
That's the one thing about good writing is
fewer
words
Patty,
are better than
I've been interested in this. We've heard that there was a trolley that went from downtown out to where the
Moana,
out there by Moana.
Right.
When about did that start or end? Do you think?
It went from downtown out to Moana, which in those days was a swimming pool.
Yeah, the swimming pool, and the couple had a restaurant there.
Right.
Yeah, it was
and
a social
had the ballpark.
What did you remember seeing the trolley?
No, that was before my time. That was before my time.
You think it was old time trolley like in San Francisco?
Probably.
Or kind of
they had a conductor, and it was one car.
Mm-hmm.
and the Barham family
Barham.
owned it, right?
Barham family.
Because
Jim
they
Barham.
owned
Okay.
the Moana area.
The facilities
and
over there.
during the war, I think I remember that the daughter ran the trolley.
Oh.
So it was in the 20s to early 40s probably.
They would have been
Yeah,
lucky.
and they used to dress up really nice to get on that trolley. Let me tell you, I saw pictures of that.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
when they're out there at the Moana area there,
That,
they were.
was a
must have been a
big-
neat time to have taken the trolley
You
out
go out there and
go
dance and
swimming
swim.
eat there and that
It was a
restaurant
big.
It was a big deal in those days.
entertainment,
social,
sort of
yeah.
like Coney Island. I mean, you know,
That's
it didn't
right.
have those
Yeah.
kinds
Yeah.
of rides,
Yeah.
but they
Exactly.
had, you know, they had planes coming in and landing. You know,
Oh,
back at,
neat.
and
Yeah.
you're talking little plane.
Yeah. Well, they used to land over here at
Sure.
the golf course, right?
Yes,
that was, an
the
airport.
original airport.
That was the original airport
Yeah.
right over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
So-
This is the cover for the Mapes Hotel and Casino. And what did you focus on with that story, Patty? What was your focus here?
Well, mostly the Mapes family, and of course the building itself. Because whenever you're talking about a building, you got to talk about the architecture and the construction.
It was very special architecture, which actually led to its demise, right?
Yes, it couldn't be modified, and one of the things about the building was built in the late 40s. You know, hotel rooms were much smaller, and by today's standards, it wouldn't be adequate. But the construction is called pillar and plate. So you have a bunch of pillars, and then you put the plate, which is the floor, and then another bunch of pillars, and then the floor. And so the 13 stories or 12 stories, you know, you couldn't modify that. You can't take out a pillar. You can't put something in.
Yeah.
So because the size of the rooms, you just couldn't modify it.
You couldn't modify it.
So-
Yeah, it probably could have been with some ingenuity. I mean, what?
Well, when they went to demolish it, the inside had like terracotta blocks was part of the pillars
Yeah.
because you couldn't get steel right after World War II, which is when it was built.
Oh.
So, you know, they're looking at it like these are like flower pots, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what terracotta is. And
Yeah,
they're like,
right.
This is really bad. Well, it was structurally sound,
Yeah.
but you just couldn't modify it.
Couldn't modify it.
Right.
So you were the attorney on that.
Yes, I represented the National Trust for Historic Preservation, whatever their official title
I
is.
donated to it, yeah.
Yeah.
And how
That's right.
how close did you come to saving it?
Not
very
even
close.
No, we filed. They had the demolition permits, and I went in and tried to stop it, and we lost in district court, and I went on vacation. So the next lawyer took it to the state Supreme Court and lost there too.
Oh, really?
So it was.
You know what? I guess it's inevitable. Sometimes you got to pull down a building, but it's just an empty lot now. You know.
Well, Patty, what were the Mapes family like? Do you the history on them? They have kids or?
I knew Charlie and his sister Gloria.
Oh, great.
And they were, the Mapes family were here practically from the very beginning. They're a cattle company.
Oh, I didn't know.
They were
I
in
didn't know
cattle.
that.
And if you remember the logo, it's two cowboys,
Yeah,
right?
two cowboys.
Yes,
And-
right, uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was because they were a cattle company, and they ran cattle like up in Beckworth back in the
in Beckworth.
1860s. And then they owned the where the university agricultural area is, and the old Minogue High School.
Oh.
The Flick
they own a
Ranch.
bunch
that
of
was-
properties
So
down
they ran their cattle there too, and then they really.
That's been good money for them.
Yeah.
Or build a whole big hotel
I
like
think
that.
they've
Wow, they must have done
well,
pretty
and
good.
it was.
It
I
had
can't
its heyday.
remember now what it cost, but and the struggle was it was right after World War II, so you couldn't get a lot of the supplies. But Gloria and Charlie's father died young. He was riding a horse, and the horse slipped and went down and broke his leg, and then infection and everything. So he died.
Okay.
But their mother, Gladys, was really the one who was pushing, right? And she came from New York, and she loved the Art Deco, which is what the building was.
Right.
So she was very instrumental in pushing all of this. And then when Charlie came back from the war, then they decided to build a hotel.
Yeah, I'm looking at his picture.
He's a young
Probably
guy.
can't see it. It's probably a little too far away.
He's a young,
but he's a very young man there.
Yes, yes.
You know?
Yeah, well, it was right out of the war.
Right out of the war,
Right.
yeah. So anyway, they made a nice success out of that hotel.
Well,
I mean,
it was
we had
successful
many.
for a number of years. What was that? Harry was the guy.
Harry Spencer was the PR guy there
Yes.
for years.
Down there doing
But the
the
movie star, a
advertising.
lot of entertainment.
They had a lot. Well, the Sky Room, which
Sky
was
Room.
the absolute,
Yeah.
the pinnacle
The
of
pinnacle of,
elegance.
Yes,
right?
yes. I was never there, but I heard
My
stories.
senior prom was in the
That's
So
fantastic.
I had a lot of fun memories of the hotel. And then when I had my first job when I was 16, I worked for a stock transfer company downtown. One of my father's friends hired the 16-year-old. He wasn't really excited about it, but he did, because he never hired anybody under 21. But when I saved up my money for my paycheck, I would go to what's called the coach room then, which was right along the river. It was not the top floor. It was on the main floor. And that was my big treat that I spent my money on. It was an elegant lunch.
Well, I imagine when they built this hotel, they had to tear down. There were structures there, right?
Yes, the post office.
Oh,
The original
post
not
office.
the original post office. That was on Commercial Row, but
Yeah.
the substantial post office was on that lot, and they're federal buildings. They're not just the post office. They have the federal offices, and so
Okay, they were
when
there.
they built the wonderful Art Deco post office across
Yeah.
the river,
Right.
then
that became available.
Right.
Yeah. So that has quite a history, and that was just a few feet away from where Myron Lake had his bridge.
Well, and Myron Lake owned that property.
Oh, he owned that property.
Yes,
Originally, he owned that property.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So great history there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
It's a
get this book too. So you newcomers to Reno.
Okay, I'm not selling my books
Yeah,
today.
I'm selling it for you. So you can catch up on history. That's one way to find out about history, buy these books, right? And listen to our show. I imagine there's a couple other shows, but our show is one of the few shows that focus particularly about the history of Northern Nevada. So you were a columnist as well.
Yes, I wrote.
And are you still? Are you still doing it?
No,
Okay.
no.
But you were a columnist for the Reno Gazette for many years, right?
6 or 7 years.
6 or
and
7 years.
I wrote on either Reno history or something within about 80 miles of Reno. So Virginia City, Verdi, think of some of the others, but it was mostly the local stuff because they had a columnist who did the state history.
Of Nevada, yeah.
Guy Rocha did that.
Yeah, so you took your columns and you put that into a book as well.
Yes.
So what are some of the more notable columns that you were able to get into that really struck your interest? Maybe we can't get into the details right now, but just mention a few, and then you can tell us the details after we take a break.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one is Scott Island.
Scott Island. Scott Island. Never heard about that.
Well, that's what was very surprising about it.
Okay. Well, let's take our break, and then we'll come back, and you can tell us about that. Okay.
Okay.
So stay tuned, folks. We'll come back for our last segment here on Old Tales of Nevada right after this.
Good.
You have got to come and see our bridal designer collection here at Precision Diamonds. We bought our building, lower the overhead. That means everyday low prices to you.
Hi, I'm Hugh Roy Marshall from the Marshall Men, Virginia City and Reno, Nevada. Come to introduce you to the Let 'em Run Wild Horse Mustang series, which depicts the wild Mustangs herd running free, the mare and its foal, the wild Mustangs fighting for love. These ingots are a limited edition double-struck product on 1 troy ounce 3-pine silver and are only available at the Marshall Mint, Virginia City, or Reno, Nevada. Get your piece of history today.
Buy Nevada First Gift Shop and Visitor Center at the Reno Town Mall is the place to buy local Nevada-owned products. There is over 4,000 square feet of unique items to choose from. Art, jewelry, books, music, inventions, clothing, candy, pottery, toys, even Nevada-made wine and more. Why, you can even purchase a gift basket full of Nevada-owned products. Buy Nevada First Gift Shop, located at the Reno Town Mall, 4001 Virginia Street in Reno. Buy local first.
Boutique Elegante presents a beautiful collection of summer fashions for every occasion. A day at the lake, a tropical holiday, patio parties, or special dinners. You'll find the perfect ensemble, add jewelry and accessories, and you're set to go. All at Boutique Elegante.
You have got to come and see our bridal designer collection here at Precision Diamonds. We bought our building, lower the overhead. That means everyday low prices to you.
Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. A store full of the unexpected, with a large selection of beer and sports memorabilia, vintage toys, casino and brothel memorabilia, vent and glassware, Disney collectibles, historic comic books, jewelry, a great selection of vintage neon, new and enlarged collections throughout the store. Have fun with the whole family. Check out all the inventory in the store. Find the unexpected that will be treasured for all time at Somewhere in Time on South Virginia in Reno.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle with a biker's bike shop.
You have got to come and see our bridal designer collection here at Precision Diamonds.
We're back here for our last segment of Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present for this week, talking with Patty Cafferata, who is working with the Attorney General and with all of the law enforcement agencies around the state. What an interesting job that must be.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
And, since I've been the district attorney in Lincoln, Lander, and Esmeralda counties at different times, I'm very familiar with rural Nevada and local government law, which is a unique brand of law, and their issues.
Their issues are so different than Reno, for sure.
Right.
You know the Goldfield, too, like the back of her hand.
Yeah, have to if you're going to be the Attorney General. Another book that Patty has written and compiled for us is The Tales of the Biggest Little City in the World. And this is when she was a columnist for the Reno Gazette-Journal, which was at one time huge, right? Oh, there's a bookmarker. But at one time it was the biggest thing in town, the Reno Gazette-Journal. In recent years, it's seen a demise in its size and scope and importance. But in those days, it was very, very important. So you would pick out characters and events and places to write about, huh? And Scott Island, what is that?
Scott Island. So this started out, nobody's heard of it, right? Yeah. And so one day I was saying to my husband, gee, what do you think I ought to write this week or this month? And he said, I think you ought to write about the island that my grandfather owned in the middle of the Truckee River.
Oh.
And I said, and his grandfather, Manuel Cafferata, was like a lot of the early Italians. He owned a lot of property, and he actually was in real estate. He bought and sold it. That was his business. So anyway, so I started doing research, and my husband didn't know where it was or anything, and I thought it was down on Lake Street, and which is where the old Boondocks was. There used to be a small island in there, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought that's what it was. Well, that wasn't the island. And the island, Scott Island, my husband's grandfather didn't own. Maybe he owned that little one, but he didn't own Scott Island. So I started doing research, trying to find, the island, and finally found an old map, and it says Scott Island.
Really?
And it was huge.
No kidding.
And so it was like, okay. So I started doing the research, and they had a radio station on it. It was the size of a football field. I mean, it was huge.
Where was it located?
Well, it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
By flood? It was gone?
No. So it was just north of what is now Renowned Hospital.
All right.
That parking lot
Yeah.
was Scott Island.
Really?
Oh, yeah, over
And
that area.
it was the garbage dump. It was a lot of things, and it wasn't in the center of the channel of the river, but the south side was a narrow channel, and then the north side was a much
Main channel.
bigger channel. And there was a bridge that went over, because that's how you got over there with the fire trucks and the dumps and
How about that?
the railroad
Isn't
station.
that over
and
there
everything.
where that gal's trying to save the old house from the river or whatever that we had on?
I don't. Oh no, that's Flick Ranch. That's up further.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's further up.
Well, that Flick Ranch is down by where the old Minoga is.
Yes,
That was the Flick
right,
Ranch.
right,
And
that's
there
the
was,
Flick,
yes,
okay.
and there was there's several little islands, and
Yes.
a lot of floods, and the Army Corps of Engineers has taken out a lot of that.
Yeah.
They've straightened the channel and stuff. So,
Straightened it
but there was ultimately there was a fire, and then the fire trucks wouldn't go over this narrow bridge, and so anyway,
burned
they
up.
would. It would,
So
but it was
there were
very
structures
interesting.
out there.
There
and-
were.
And
There were.
How about that?
So now it's part of. I think it may even be part of the Indian colony, because
Where the
Reno
health-
Sparks-
what the health center
where
is, right
that's
there.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
John Champion Park.
Yeah.
All of that area was Scott
No
Island.
kidding. I knew nothing
so
about
they
that.
fill it in. So that was kind of my biggest find.
Yeah, yeah. And then you have this story here in Chapter 4. This is Volume 2. You did 2 volumes here. Downtown reduced to ashes in 1879.
That was the big
Reno
big
fire, yeah.
Reno fire.
Oh, yeah.
And the on the corner of the Sierra Street and the railroad, there's an old building there,
Yeah.
and every time you drive south on Sierra Street, you can see it. It's the only building that survived the fire that is still standing.
No kidding.
And
something.
The whole town burned down.
Yep.
How many
Well, it was all wooden structures.
Yeah, how many structures were there in those days?
Well, you're talking about from the river to the railroad tracks. I mean, that's what.
Yeah.
That's
Everybody
what
built brick
Yeah.
buildings.
Commercial
brick
row.
We went to
buildings
Reno.
after that. Yeah.
Brick.
Commercial
Company.
row and all that.
Yes, all of that.
Just went
was-
out.
Yeah.
How
And
did it
started,
start?
It's somebody's chimney, flames and sparks and it's
Really?
and then you didn't have a professional fire department.
Yeah.
They're all volunteers. And what do you have? You have a bunch of cisterns out there and buckets.
Yeah,
So-
buckets.
Very
Right,
well. Fire, yeah.
So the building that's standing was the original Masonic temple in
Okay.
the ground floor. Talk about all the history. The state treasurer, Jerry Schooling, was the third state treasurer, and he had his mercantile on the main floor of that building.
Wow.
So, and he stayed in the building during the fire. Everybody else threw their merchandise and took their wagons up towards the university, right? Get out
Yeah.
of town. He stayed and plugged up all the holes, and if any cinders came in, he put them out. So he saved the building.
He saved the building.
Saved the building.
That's a great story.
Fantastic, yeah.
So each one is like, what, a page or two long?
Yeah, well, the newspaper, you get 500 words.
500 words. So each one's
So they're all
500 words.
500
Boy, you
words.
could learn a lot.
Yeah,
with
a lot
each
of,
one
lot of
these, couldn't you?
pictures in there of each place too, and you got great pictures in
Thank
there.
Some great pictures in here,
I like
yeah.
books with a lot of pictures.
I'm looking at this with this commercial row, right?
Right.
And this is a garden-like setting here.
Right.
But
Fountain.
now, what is that?
Well, it's a fountain, and obviously the weather dropped, and it was very cold, and so the ice block is over the little statue in there.
Yeah, and
So,
what's on that site now? Amtrak station.
Well, that could be, yes,
Yeah.
if that's what this.
That's
if
what
that's
it
what it
says.
says under the caption.
That's what it says, right?
and I wrote on the Amtrak station too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, it certainly looks different now. That's down there by the bowling stadium.
Yes,
and the
yes.
Amtrak station is right there.
Right.
And across the way was the various restaurants.
That was.
You know
well,
who was there?
Commercial Row was the big
Yeah.
retail area because it was right along the.
You know what we
railroad
learned on
tracks.
another show was that right across the street from the Amtrak station was the Frankoviches. They had
they had their grocery store there.
Grocery store and bar, and that's where the eggnog and the Manhattans came from, right? See, you got it right there. I never forget once I learned it. But you know what's so cool about that? You learn something, and then when you go downtown and you drive by that site, all that information comes back to your head, and it's like really amazing, you know? Like we had the lady on from the Lake Mansion, and she was telling us where the original location was for that.
Correct.
And now every time I go past that corner on California, right, I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's where the building was, you know? And your imagination kind of runs with you.
Sure.
Which is kind of cool.
And, of course, I've written
It's good it was saved, though.
Yeah, that one was saved.
Over there. They could have damaged it.
They've done a very nice job with that.
They did a good job with preservation there, yeah.
So what other ideas do you have coming up in your head for books? Are you done?
Oh no, I'm not done. I have to quit my day job. However,
yeah.
When my day job is over, I'm going back to. I've of course worked on 2 books. One, of course, authors are always working on more than one thing usually.
Yeah.
But I talked to the University Press about a book on the hotels of Nevada because I've done 2 hotels.
There are many of them now. That would be a neat subject, very neat subject.
It's a big part of our industry and our economy because we've always had hotels.
Sure. You're going to go into the Vegas hotels or more of the rural settings?
Well, no, historic
hotels.
So go back to late 1850s or something when people started coming through, and then go up through the casino industry.
Sure.
So whenever you're writing a book, you have to think about what's the theme. You know, who's the audience? And there's 2 ways to do it. I could pick 17 hotels, one for each county, right? In history, the Boulder City Hotel when the dam was being built, or the Mapes Hotel, or the Nevada Hotel in Ely, so you would hit.
There are about 25 hotels in Virginia City.
But were there?
At least.
The thing about it is many people would use their house for a hotel for the people so they'd have some place to stay.
Yeah.
So then they name it a hotel, but it was really just maybe somebody's house.
Somebody's house with some extra rooms in it.
Well, and the beautiful International Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
There's just so many.
And now the Marshall, not the Marshall Mint, but the Silverland Inn and Suites.
Yeah, I'm stupid enough to build a hotel there, too. Right on top of a cave down there, potentially.
Yeah, really. But it sits on a very historic site.
We compacted it almost for 6 months.
Yeah. Now, when you start to write a book, are you like some of these authors that we hear about? They get in a room and it has to have the certain kind of light, and they have to have a little brandy on the corner here, and you start going with an old typewriter. Is that the way you do it? No.
I start. Decide on what the theme is, right, and who the audience is. So you could do the 17 hotels, or you could do an encyclopedia of hotels because there's so many. Right?
Yeah.
And then you have just a paragraph and when it was built and who built it, the architect.
That special documents division over there at the library at the
give you a lot of help on that one.
A lot of information on the hotel.
Absolutely.
That one.
Sure.
Yeah.
So but that would be a research book. That would be kind of an encyclopedia.
It might not be as interesting as you did.
We like the stories.
Right,
the stories.
If you got a story with it, maybe it makes
Well, Barbara, listen, we're coming down to the end of our show, but we want to encourage you to keep writing, and whatever you put out is going to be a good one, and we appreciate you taking on that responsibility and having the passion to make sure that we, us laymen, know the history of Nevada, and so that brings us great pride to have you in our community and be able to have you on our show. So keep up the good work, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
And Roy, thanks for letting us be in your pool room here at the mansion. We appreciate it very much, and we also appreciate our audience that watches us every week, and we want to invite them back. So for you, Roy, for Patty and myself, we want to see you next week, and in the meantime, we want to wish you a great Nevada day and have it every day until we see you next week.
Very good.
Very good.